Hello, this is Rosen, your local realtor in Northern California. Today, I am going to be looking at the California market update. Yesterday, we just got a bunch of new stats, so I'm going to share those with you and look through to see if we can find any insights. This first slide, you can see California housing market that in January 2024, there was 256,000 home sales, which does sound like a lot, but you'll actually see compared to historical standards, this is actually quite low. Year over year, the price grew 5.9%, which I actually found quite amazing. I'll show you why in a little bit with some of these other graphs. The median home price, as you can see here, is 788,000. Median days on the market is 32 days, which is actually decreased. So the amount of unsold inventory is 3.2 months, which is also decreased. So if you are looking to buy a house in the month of January, it got slightly more expensive. But if you were looking to sell, things went quicker on the market, or they moved faster. Here we can look at the Bay Area housing snapshot. Existing sales were up 6.2% year over year. Existing home price came in at 1.1 million and is up 10.6% year over year. Now that is coming back from a big downturn, but 10.6% is quite high. Okay, this is one of my favorite graphs. Sales bounce back but remain at historic lows. As you can see here, previously I mentioned that there was around 250,000 home sales in the month of January. However, you can see on this chart that it is more around 500,000, maybe 450,000 for your average. It's really dropped off a cliff. I mean, mortgage rates have shot up, and as a consequence, home prices should have come down, except sellers, they said, no, I remember my neighbor got a really high price. I'm gonna want a high price too. And you know what? The number of houses that were actually sold just fell off a cliff. We're actually at 2008 recession levels of selling, which is just amazing that prices haven't come down that much. Now, in certain sectors of the market, in San Francisco, things have come down by 20-30%. It depends on luxury versus single family, but overall, the prices have come down in the market, but not as much as you would expect given the low volume of home sales. This basically just shows you that you'll have not so much competition in chasing homes. Now, there is a little bit of a low inventory, and so there are a bit of extra bidders on there, but in general, now's a great time to hunt for a house. Pending sales. And you can see it's a great time to hunt for a house, and other people are recognizing this. I'm not the guru of the market. Other people have eyes. Look at this. Pending sales jump month to month, partially due to seasonality. In the spring, people like to get out a little bit more. They go shopping. You know, there's the whole New Year's, there's tax reasons. There's a bunch of different things that influence it. But you can see here, it actually shot up quite a bit. And what that tells you is that pending sales, there's a lot of people who are about to get a house. There was a lot of offers that were made, except that there wasn't a lot of inventory. So a lot of that inventory has been gobbled up by these pending sales. Next, we have the California median home price. It dropped below 800,000 for the first time in 9 months, but continues to rise. So you can see here, again, this is the 2008 levels. And then since then, it kind of just did a steady climb up. Not really a 45, maybe about a 15 degree, a little more here during COVID. And then it came down a little bit here. It comes up in the middle of the year and then it slides off. And it comes up in the middle of the year and it slides off. At least in general, you can see that there's a bit of a downturn. So we're gonna be in the first 6 months here, it's definitely gonna be in an uptrend. Price per square foot slid from previous months. And there's a few factors that kind of play into this, and I'll get into it more on another slide, but this is just showing you that the market is definitely softening. For example, San Francisco, which was white hot 18 months ago, the price per square foot was actually almost $1,000 per square foot, depending on exactly what you were looking for. And now it's come down to around $700 a square foot. So it's actually lost about 30% of the value of certain homes there. But this graph kind of represents that. This is more of a single family median home. So, and you got to remember, this is for all of California. So it's, quite heavily skewed towards Southern California, unless the stats are more specifically north. This one I find really interesting, and I'm going to attribute this to regulations, actually. The price per square foot gap between home types has actually widened. So a condo is actually roughly 25% more per square foot than a single family house. It's a little bit misleading because condos are actually quite cheap on the market right now. But what happens is that homes are being built to larger and larger specifications because of rules, regulations, and fees. It's actually mathematically beneficial for a builder to build around 2,000 square feet or higher. So most of the new homes being built are actually of larger size. And you can confirm this if you go to, for example, new home construction websites. Here's a link to my preferred one. You can actually see that most of the homes there are larger in size. So that's just kind of a rules and regulations thing. And condos are cheap, but you don't quite get your bang for your buck for them. So that's going to be a trade-off. Okay, share of homes sold above asking continues on a downward trend. So if you can see here, during the absolute mania of 20 to 2022, the peak there was at 72% of homes were being sold for above asking, which is insane because the prices were already inflated as well. So we have about a third of houses right now being sold over asking, which is a bit higher than in the low of 2023. Depending on what happens in the year, I do expect this number to continue to calm down, actually. I think it'll probably bottom out around 25%. Given the current circumstances, the Fed just indicated that they actually will be holding off on lowering the Fed's fund rate because of strong economic data this week. So the longer that they hold off in the economic data, the lower that this number is going to get. Okay, this one is super useful. This is homes sold above asking by county. And this is just something great to help you decide how much should I bid over asking. Right now, we have relatively few number of buyers, but as you can see, they are still bidding somewhat above asking. And that is because prices have come down so dramatically. So, I mean, you can do the math on this. If the average house has lost 30% of its value and then it's being sold for, let's say 25% over asking, well, we're kind of right back where we started. So there's a little bit of a which way you slice the cake here is how the numbers come out. This next chart is mortgage rates. They retreat from a 2-decade high but remain elevated. And as you can see here, in the beginning of 2022, they shot up. Mortgage rates went from they were even lower before, but they went from 3% all the way up to really around 7% here, and then they started to go back down. That move right here has doubled the price of houses as far as payments. And that is why people are really just not selling. Not only can people not buy so much right now, but selling a house means that you then have to take on another mortgage, which is going to be extremely high. And there's taxes and all those other things that make it unadvantageous to sell your house right now. Okay, active listings were muted due to seasonal factors. You can see here that there's kind of a swell, a wave-like pattern to the number of active listings, and it comes and goes for the reasons I just described. So you can see we're actually at very, very low inventory here, it's good for sellers. I've had clients, they're getting outbid on a number of places right now. There's just not that many people who are willing to sell their houses right now. And the people who are, they're motivated sellers. We can see here that the housing supply has dropped in more than half of the state. Some places, Santa Barbara is just on fire. But you can see that most of the other state, things have actually come down by almost an inverse amount here. It's leaning mostly towards a housing supply drop in about 65% of California. And, honestly, that's to be expected with what we just went through. And so if you want to, use this graph to basically find out where can we find the deals, where's a good place to be a buyer or a seller, I'll just say housing supply, it's better to be a buyer on the right side of this graph all the way to the red, and better to be a seller on the left side. So just something to help kind of use some information to figure that out. So basically that is the snapshot of the market. I think that the market's actually in a very, very interesting place. We've had supply come down of houses, huge amounts to 2008 levels. However, we have not seen prices come down to match. So basically, if the Fed continues to hold rates where they are, then we're going to see prices just plummet, absolutely plummet. If it takes another 5 or 6 months for the Fed to lower rates, I'm expecting at least another 20 to 30% drop. However, if there's some catastrophic event, let's say the stock market starts to slide or there's some geopolitical events and they lower interest rates, then I think that the housing market is absolutely just going to take off. There is so much pent-up demand. All of the people who did not buy houses in the last rush, they've been waiting on the sidelines. I hear it, I hear the buzz, and I think that those people are going to make some really, really big moves in the market. So we're going to see what happens. I'm going to be monitoring this. There's monthly charts that come out, so I'm going to be keeping you updated. And as always, you have any questions, my contact information's below. And thanks for listening. I hope you have a good day and happy house hunting.